Welcome to the David Pakman Show. I am, of course, obviously not David Pakman. I am Farron Cousins, host of Ring of Fire and Fair and Balanced, and I will be filling in for David Pakman today. And boy, do we have a fun one for you today, folks. We've got Donald Trump and his many nonsensical rantings at his Flint, Michigan rally this week. We have Mitch McConnell calling Republicans stupid, which might be the first time I've ever agreed with Mitch McConnell. And we have Marjorie Taylor Greene absolutely losing it over a sheriff at a hearing this week, telling Republicans that, hey, your policy's a little bit racist. She didn't like that one bit. All of that and so much more is coming up on today's show. So without further ado, let's get into it. Donald Trump traveled to Flint, Michigan this week for a rally / Q&A town hall type thing that was very light on the Q's and very confusing on the A's. Because Donald Trump actually only took like a couple questions from what was supposed to be a town hall event. And for his sake, that's probably the best idea ever because he's not good at answering questions. I mean, he's not good at speaking at all, but when it comes to actually answering questions off the cuff, man, is this guy bad. And if you don't believe me, then consider this. At one point, Donald Trump was asked a question. Woman stands up, asks him, well, first she goes into her backstory a little bit. She's working, she's struggling, groceries are expensive. So her question, of course, comes down to, what would you as president do to lower my grocery bills? It's a simple question. It's a question that, by the way, is on the minds of millions of voters across this country. So they want answers. And unfortunately, if you want answers to this, you shouldn't go to Donald Trump. Donald Trump, for weeks now, has been told by his advisors, his allies, his friends, Republican media, they're all saying the same thing. Stick to policy. Get away from personal attacks. Well, this is what happens when Donald Trump is asked about specific policies. Take a look.
Mom of 3, a grandmother of 7, and 3 great-grands, a registered nurse, retired nurse. So I know the cost that goes into raising children and running a household.
Yeah. People
just can't survive now. How are you going to bring down the cost of food and groceries?
Good. Very good. Thank you. So we have to start always with energy. Always. I don't want to be boring about it, but there's no bigger subject. It covers everything. If you make donuts, if you make cars, whatever you make, energy is a big deal. And we're going to get that. It's my ambition to get your energy bill within 12 months down 50%. If I can do that, we've done a hell of a job. 5-0, not 15, 50. Interest rates are going to follow, and actually they're going to follow for another reason. The economy is now not good. And interest rates, you'll see they'll do the rate cut and all the political stuff tomorrow, I think. And, will he do a half a point? Will he do a quarter of a point? But the reason is because the economy is not good. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to do it.
Okay, so right off the bat, just off to a horrible start. Right? What are you going to do to lower grocery bills? Well, you can't talk about grocery bills without talking about energy. Actually, you can, okay? You really can. You do not have to go off on this weird tangent about energy. The United States is not currently experiencing any kind of energy shortage. I don't know if Donald Trump is aware of that, but he is trying to give that woman who asked the question the impression that somehow we're running out of energy. We just can't do it. And that's why the energy prices in this country are so high, which is completely false, by the way. Domestic energy production here in the United States is near record highs. It is certainly higher than it was during the Trump administration. We have energy to give to people. Energy is not the reason that your grocery bill is so high. The reason that energy bills are higher, the reason that grocery bills are higher, all come down to one thing: greedflation. The CEO of Kroger, massive grocery store chain across the United States, recently told the FTC that, they've raised prices on certain items that they carry, specifically, by the way, eggs and milk, two of the most basic staples of grocery stores. The CEO admitted that we raised the prices of those things higher than the level of inflation. Why? Well, the answer is very simple. Because they can. Because nobody is stopping them from doing it. What are people going to do? Just not buy food? And it's the same thing with energy costs. Energy costs in the United States have gone up not because there's a shortage of energy, not because it's more expensive to get it to you, but because the people that run those companies say, we can. What are people going to do? Not put gas in their car? Are they just not going to have gas in their homes for cooking or heating or however you use it? No, they're not. And the few people that cannot afford these increased prices, the CEOs know this, the money they lose from people not paying their bills is going to be more than made up for by the people who do pay the higher costs. So it is a net positive for them, and they do it because they can. It doesn't matter if it's pharmaceuticals, groceries, gas, whatever. They charge you more money because there's no one to stop them. We do not have federal price controls in place for these kinds of things, leaving these companies free to do whatever they want. And of course, energy prices, when we're talking about oil, those are set on the global scale anyway. So, we're at the whim of these other countries. So Donald Trump is talking about a thing that's not even related to anything close to what that woman asked. But don't worry, because that's not all he said in his response. He did, unfortunately, continue, and here's the second half of his response to this woman asking again, just to remind you, how would you lower my grocery bills? Here's the second part.
But we're going to get interest rates down, and we got to work with our farmers. Our farmers are being decimated right now. They're being absolutely decimated. And one of the reasons is we allow a lot of farm product into our country, and we're going to have to be a little bit like other countries. We're not going to allow so much come. We're going to let our farmers go to work. And I don't know if you remember, I love the farmers because, I had many meetings as president. I have this gorgeous room with this beautiful table that seats about 35 people. And I was with the farmers. Usually everybody wants something. They all want subsidy. But I was with the farmers, and I think you might have been there, actually, Sarah. I said, look, fellas, we're going to get you such a beautiful subsidy, meaning I'm going to do things. And one of the people raises and, sir, honestly, we don't want a subsidy. This is the first time this ever happened to me. Everyone they want money. They want to build windmills. We want money with these windmills. Anyway. But you know what? It was amazing. He said, almost tears in his eyes, they were getting decimated. We don't want a subsidy. We just want a...
So, tariffs. Tariffs on any agricultural goods coming into the United States will somehow, he says, I guess, lower your grocery costs. I don't even think he remembers what the original question was. And for the record, that conversation he's talking about, the farmers, they were begging me, please, no more subsidies. No, we have so many, we don't even want any. That's bull. I hope everybody remembers that in 2019, and then once again in the run-up to the 2020 election, just to shore up their support, Donald Trump started sending checks out to American farmers. And he did that because the bankruptcy rate for American farmers under Donald Trump, due to his trade wars, bankruptcy rate for farmers rose to 24%. Farmers were going bankrupt at a rate not seen in this country since the Dust Bowl. And it was because of his policy choices. Because as a result of the tariffs on the goods coming in from China that Donald Trump put in place, China said, okay, we're going to stop buying your agricultural goods. So the exports that these farmers typically had, that they would be selling overseas to China, because, we bring goods in from China, but guess what? They buy stuff from us. And suddenly these farmers couldn't sell their goods. So Donald Trump had the federal government start cutting these people checks. And here is what he said about it at the time. I sometimes see where these horrible, dishonest reporters will say that, oh, geez, the farmers are upset. Well, they can be too upset, or they can't be too upset, because I gave them $12 billion and I gave them $16 billion this year. I hope you like me even better than you did in 16. So he's literally admitting, like, hey, I gave you money, you gotta like me. Because his disastrous trade policies were sending these farmers into bankruptcy. And, of course, raising the cost of the goods we buy at the grocery store. And so Donald Trump's, I guess, roundabout answer to this woman of how he's going to lower grocery prices is to do the very thing he did that helped cause grocery prices go through the roof to begin with. This is why Trump doesn't talk policy. And this is why it has driven me absolutely up the wall every single time those, right-wingers come out and beg him, please just talk about policy. Have you never heard him talk about policy? Because he's even worse talking about policy than he is when he's doing the personal attacks. At least his personal attacks can get, a rise out of his base. When he talks about policy, all he does is confuse everybody, leaving nobody knowing what exactly he just said. At no point in that response was there anything close to an answer to the question that woman asked. And I hope she takes that to heart. I hope she understands that she has a very real issue, and Donald Trump clearly doesn't even understand it.
Many of us have bad habits we want to kick. Finding motivation can be hard, especially when life gets heavy and the bad habit seems to be what's keeping you sane. Thankfully, Fume is here to help you prioritize your health in a way that will not disrupt your daily life. Introducing Fume's award-winning flavored air device that is quickly becoming the leading alternative to smoking and to vaping. The point of Fume is to satisfy the hand-to-mouth fixation of some of these bad habits, which makes healthy change feel even easier. The Fume device is sleek, it's sophisticated, you can fidget with it. There is no nicotine here, only natural ingredients like plant extracts and oils. There's no electronics. There's no vapor. There is an amazing selection of flavors, from the popular crisp mint to the adventurous black licorice and cinnamon hearts. Fume is delicious. It's subtle. You can keep using it without feeling overwhelmed. So start your journey today. Go to tryfume.com and use the code PACMAN to get a free gift with your journey pack, which includes a Fume device, 3 core flavors of your choice, and a cleaning kit. If you are struggling to get rid of that bad habit, try Fume. The link is in the description.